Let's talk about what happened today. Today's, of course, Tuesday, October 19th. But before we talk about what transpired today, um, let's talk about what happened on Monday. Of course, Amazon gapped down, and in the morning, I was expecting technical Monday, typically Monday after a huge, this is of course I'm talking about here, a huge run on Friday all the way to a high. I was not expecting Monday to perform the way it did. I was expecting the behavior of the morning to continue throughout the afternoon, being technical Monday, and everything was going fine until the afternoon. And of course, somewhere along here, I sold a call option, expecting it to come back down to test the VWAP, and it continues to go higher and higher, forcing me eventually realizing it was gonna close higher day again. So as I've mentioned before, Amazon and the market in general, or the high tech stocks in general, a lot of time will close at either high of day or low of day, and currently looks like that is still the case. I had to buy, actually, I had to sell a protection put for Monday at the close to compensate for risk that potentially, here it is at the very close, at the high, potentially, what we would see is, of course, a gap up on Tuesday, some kind of news or event that would trigger a extremely large increase or extremely a gap up for say. And of course, in the futures, that seems to be the case, a gap up. But then eventually in the pre-market, they start to sell it off, which was rather unexpected given that the QQQ was up. As you can see at this point, it would open or gap lower at the open for Amazon, and I was expecting Amazon to, because of this signature, to essentially, I was expecting Tuesday to be turnaround Tuesday. What that means is it'll be a lower close. But that did not happen. However, let's go over the trades. Uh, you can see right here on Amazon, this was my protection put. Uh, so at the open, right here at the open, my open call was of course now profitable, but my protection put is lower, so it was down by 1,000 points. At which time there was no way I would have covered it, because it could have kept going down to the 5 minute. So I just waited, and of course, let's transition to this right here. So at this point where it went up, I covered that protection put for 342. This is the only other put that I sold. Essentially, it's negligible, and most of my trades today was selling the 3400 call option for a total of 1600. So let's go over those results. Here you can see 65 was at this point I sold a call option for 65, which is the same level that I cover on the protection put. This 65 had I sold two call option, I probably would have held one to make, all the way down here, which would be 2,000. Of course, I didn't sell two, I only sold one and covered way too quickly. So that opportunity loss was about 1,000 is what I noted in my notes for today. There was some other opportunity loss, but that was the biggest one that I mentioned. Was losing 1K because it was a fairly quick reversal. I made other trades along the way. So there's 58 that I sold, 53, 54, 55, all of which were profitable. The only downturn was that because of the way the price action was performing, actually the options, the spread, the bid, and the ask on Amazon for pretty much all of the major strike points, in fact, all of these strike points were rather large. It was in the morning. It was we were talking about here. You can see the 48, 55. It was somewhere in that range. I wouldn't say it was this large, just the 7 points, but it caught me off guard. Normally, I don't see bid and ask that are that wide, and normally what that indicates is a potential sell-off, a potential reversal, so turnaround Tuesday, was what I was expecting, and because of that bid and ask, made me cover a lot of these options fairly quickly, due to the uncertainties of the nature, and also because of the potential for a sell-off. What did I do? I did not play the upside. So normally on these positions, you can see these reversal candle. In the past, I would, of course, bought the call option or sold the put options. And you can imagine the put option being at a same price differential. Had I sold it, would be in the order of, here is 45 to 55. We're talking about 1,000 points, 500 points. Here we're talking about almost 2,000 points. Here from 50 to 60, 1,000 points. So had I played the upside, could have probably gained another 3,000 in past, days like today's. I would typically gain 4 to 5,000. Of course, that strategy is being more aggressive. I am now on a more risk management strategy, more conservative strategy, which limit my profit potential. However, the consistency in the gains and the consistency in the performance is more favorable. That being said, I do miss the large profits days of 5,000, 10,000. Those days are far gone until I decide to go back to that strategy. If I go back to the strategy, at this point, I don't know if that will be a prudent strategy, because playing aggressively do lead to more losses. And however, I am a lot more experienced with how the current system, the behavior of the price action being 70%, 65 to 70% of the time, it is rather going to be high of days or low of days. So playing aggressively and knowing that the 60-minute trend line is a magnet line and also a measure of technical analysis, uh, playing aggressively may be a more prudent strategy. That being said, let's talk about potentially what might happen going forward. At this point, we have, since the Fed announcement right here, which is on Wednesday of last week, you can see this reversal candle This is of course triggering this whole run up. Here's from the 60s, that Wednesday we're talking about. Um, Pretty sure that, yeah, this is the yes, I think this is the Wednesday, or maybe this is the Wednesday. Since that Fed announcement, no, this has to be the Wednesday. So this has deviated quite a bit from the 60-minute trend line. Similar to this being deviation from the 60-minute trend line quite a bit. We don't know if it's going to continue to deviate, or it's gonna flatten out and start to start to reverse. Now, I think the potential for flattening out or staying range bound is rather higher nowadays. I would think. Oh, let's take a look at the futures and see. It should be flat, but I'm just gonna check it, and it's down 21. So I would say that it's rather flat. Um, Wednesday is often reversal Wednesday, so I think tomorrow has a potential of being, I would think, in this bottomish range area. I would think that would be the most prudent price action. We're talking about around here. So let's look at the 15 minutes and see if that makes sense. This is the 15 minutes. Actually, the QQQ is at high of day, so yeah, I do think we're talking about roughly around this area. Now, let's look at the major performers for today. We got Google being range bound. Let me just throw in Apple real quick. And we also will throw in Microsoft. Um, okay, so here Apple is at performed pretty well today. Tesla is down. Shopify is up. QQQ is up. Amazon is down. Microsoft is flat. And let's just throw in Facebook for kicks. Here is Facebook, and Facebook is up. So we do have a mixed bag as far as the high techs. Earnings starts, I think Netflix and iSearch reports tomorrow. So those reports will trigger um, whatever, which be a catalyst for the market going forward. What I'm thinking is probably Wednesday, given that the SPY has been quite outperforming rather well. Let's just take a look at the SPY real quick. Um, how much recovery we're talking about. I mean, this is extremely, extremely. I mean, this movement. I mean, it just goes down and go up. It's just they don't even stay down for very long, which is extremely. I mean, this type of action is almost strange, right? We don't see the type of movement that we did in the past anymore. And the reason why I've mentioned this before, the reason why you have such a rebound so quickly is there's just so many players in the game today. There's too much money, too much leverage, too much margin, too much, so many new hedge funds, financial institutions, day traders, momentum traders, people from overseas. I mean, we're talking about, um, I mean, I would have to guess 50% more traders today than there was a couple of years past like 3 years ago, because the amount of money that was generated in this pandemic rally that you see here, that's just trillions upon trillions and trillions. So, imagine the leverage on those potential credits, and that's why the rebound is so quick. And I think that's gonna continue until at least well into next year, before tapering actually go into effect. In the meantime, I think Wednesday would be a flat to down day, probably potentially a lower close due to fear of reports from some of the owners, and also because typically reversal Wednesday is the opposite of the current trend, which is higher. And depending on how the reports in the after hour could potentially rebound all of the loss in the regular session for tomorrow. So I am expecting a range bound for Amazon. At least I'm expecting a range bound to a lower close. Again, probably expect to be profitable tomorrow. I just don't see a runaway condition. Given that today, the way it looks, let's go back to Amazon and see how the McCullen oscillator look on the 60 minutes. I do want to take a look at that. Here is the McCullen oscillator starting to go on the negative side. So like I said, this negative McCullen oscillator will limit any potential for a runaway condition. So I'm expecting, a decent range bound. I may sell a put, or not a put. I might sell a call option as a runner, meaning I will hold on to it. We'll see if that's gonna be the case. McCullen oscillator. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna start to flatten out, but you never know, right? The volume is decreasing now, unless news of a split or whatever news or catalyst that trigger this whole event materialize. I think Amazon will stay in a rather range bound to lower close. Just gonna take a look at Google real quick since I think Google potentially might start to be range bound as well. Hard to say though. I'd rather play Amazon. But I'll probably look at some more opportunity to see if there's any other stocks that can be maximized as well.